Oh my goodness, what do we have here? We are back at it yet again, ladies and gentlemen, and we are here with episode 10, the official episode 10 of Renegades Ramble. And as always, I am your host, I guess. The hostess with the not-so-mostest.
What?
But, yeah, so hi, everyone. I'm Nate. Sup, you bunch of nerds. And, of course, we're here at the lovely Primordic Studio yet again.
Different seating arrangement.
Yes, a little bit of a different seating arrangement, and that is a phone call. Whoever that is, I hope that you never find happiness. Not really. If it's just a telemarketer, they'll probably hope you become a millionaire, and you never have to work for a telemarketing service again. Because I've been there. Anyway, we're here at Primordic Studio. A little bit of a different seating arrangement. We're now a 3-piece. Apparently we
just for tonight.
Apparently, we're not cool enough to be a 4-piece anymore.
No. We killed
I'm
Jacob.
I'm
we
joking.
killed Jacob off.
Yeah. Jacob has been officially written off of television.
Nah, he's busy with a client.
Yeah, he's over in the recording studio right now, recording several artists.
Yeah, we got a couple going on.
Oh yeah, so yeah, there's pretty much a line around the building. You should see it. It's amazing. So, and of course, joining me on this podcast, we have Chelsea.
Hey guys.
And the big bad Roan Daddy himself.
Big bad Roan Daddy.
Yes.
Roan.
Yeah, Roan, or as they were trying to call you in there, RJ, because
RJ?
Roan Jr.
Oh God. No.
Ron Jr.
I guess that works.
Well, hey, RJ works. I like RJ.
Just Roan.
I know.
Whatever.
Well, I tried to tell him.
Ron is the junior.
Oh, he's the junior, and you're
I'm
the
the third. Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm royalty.
No, you're RC3. That's RC3.
RC3PO. God, I hate
if only that were the case.
I hate C3PO. I hate him far more than
Why?
I say,
Dude,
R2, you should see this.
He's such a
chungus sitting
smug.
next to me.
He's such a smug
delightful
bitch.
If he weren't sober.
I will take Jar Jar any fucking day.
Wow, no,
Yeah,
I can't agree with that.
No,
Arms crossed, cannot agree.
I don't care.
Arms crossed, shaking head.
He's such a smug asshole.
You know who I'll take? You know who I will always take from the prequels? You know, who only show up in the prequels? Mace Windu. I will take him every single
Samuel
time.
Jackson, dude.
Well, it's Samuel L. Jackson and his pimp saber. I mean,
And his pimp saber.
What?
I love that purple
Just have
lightsaber.
him on camera, just in a blank back room for 6 hours.
yeah, just have him just be like,
for the entire trilogy.
So is this what you wanted to see? Is this what you wanted to see, motherfucker?
I was such a big Mace
see that.
Windu fan. I had to go out and buy the replica lightsaber.
Oh yeah. I liked his saber. His lightsaber hilt was actually very different as well.
It really was.
Yeah, it actually had the little gold ring up the top. I was like, wow, this actually is like really, really nice. And that was his demand. That he had a purple lightsaber because he wanted to stand out, because everyone else either had blue or green or red, and that's it. And it
sounds like a special snowflake to me.
No, it's not a snowflake. It's a man. It's a man with a demand.
It's a man with a demand.
That's a demand right there.
The way that he went out was just awful.
Well, actually, if you want, have you seen the Darth Vader short film that just came out?
No.
Oh my gosh!
But I want to check it out now that you've said that.
Yeah, there's Star Wars
I've
Theory.
been watch that.
Star Wars Theory released Vader. I think it's Vader Episode 1, in which what he does is he takes the character Darth Vader and he explores the mental the mental journey that he's taken so far and becoming a Sith Lord since becoming like a full apprentice to Darth Sidious.
Mm-hmm.
And you see this, and you see these awesome things take place in this. This guy made this for $150,000.
Is it like fan films?
Yeah. It's a 17-minute long fan film, and it is beautiful. Every single.
To go home and watch
I haven't watched it yet. All I've seen about it is that Disney tried to fuck them over, and Lucasfilm was like, "Hey,
knock that
sit
off.
the fuck down.
Yeah, well,
Stop."
Actually,
Cut
what happened with that was number one. It was Warner Chappell who owned the rights to the music, which the people who own the rights to the music are Disney, and they go through Warner Chappell. And technically, it wasn't Disney, but it still was in my book.
Yeah.
But and then Lucasfilm was just like, hey, this guy followed every rule that we gave him. Leave him alone.
Yeah, well, it seemed like such bullshit because he didn't even do it to try and make money off it. It was basically it was demonetized right from the start. But Disney wanted to be like, oh, we can make money off this. Fuck you,
Yeah.
assholes.
Yeah.
Fucking
Well,
piece
number
of shit.
one, he didn't take any crowdfunding because he wasn't allowed to. He actually asked Lucasfilm, "Hey, is it cool if I crowdfund this or monetize this in any way? Or if I can't do monetization, can I at least do like an ad sponsorship? Like this short film is made possible by the awesome people like." I don't know, SeatGeek or Skillshare or something like that. But no, they wouldn't allow him to do that. He wasn't allowed to make any money or use or raise any money to make this. Instead, he paid for it out of his own pocket. And he in turn made a much better film than Last Jedi. Look, I know.
Are you really going to throw that out there? Really? You think that?
Well, personally, it's just, at first, I didn't mind
You're
Last Jedi.
putting him up against J.J. Abrams.
No, actually, it was Ryan Johnson.
Oh, no, yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Well, no,
You're
it's
right.
fine, it's fine. Yeah. But Ryan Johnson, I like Ryan Johnson.
Yeah.
He's done great films. I watched the first film I ever watched by him was Brick with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Noah and just it was a really good film. It was so well done. And to think that it was only made for like a micro budget, I was like, wow, this is actually really well done. And then after that, I saw Looper. Looper was also really good. It introduced this concept of time travel and an alternate future and everything, and that you're a hitman for life, and your last thing that you're ever going to do as a hitman is you're going to kill your future self, which is insane to think about.
Yeah,
because it's just like, whoa, that's just ridiculous.
Mr. Morningstar asked, "Roner the Loner?"
Oh.
Yes, I am. You don't have to make fun of me for it. I am a lone wolf, and I'm okay with that.
Hey. You know, the thing about lone wolves is that sometimes they come back to the pack. Yeah, they come back to the pack, and, they regale the pack with stories of their
You know what I think, though?
exploits.
I think the pack is stupid. I think I have better ideas than all of them. They just don't get it. They don't understand.
Wow, you sound like that one Bee Gee. You sound like that one Gibb brother from the Bee Gees who was just like, I can do better by myself, and then he winds up doing okay by himself, but then gets depressed and overdosed on drugs. Dark.
Well, could have been worse. Could have Kurt Cobain himself.
Oh God. Well, it wasn't Kurt who wanted to be by himself. It was Courtney Love putting these poisonous ideas in his head that he was like this genre redefining rock god and that he should act the part and everything. And I'm just like, Courtney, go to the methadone clinic and get yourself checked back in.
Methadone.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, go back.
She had some serious issues.
Yeah, she did. And there's still like a little bit of a fight going on between her and Dave Grohl over like a lot of stuff, but Frances Bean, Kurt's only daughter, she's the one who owns the rights to Nirvana. She's the one who owns all of the rights transferred to her whenever she filed for independence from her mother.
So then Courtney doesn't get any of that.
No, instead the only thing she gets is for like stuff she co-wrote with Kurt or like artwork that she did with Kurt and proceeds from her band that she used to be in, Hole, which there was some decent songs that they came out with.
There?
Yeah, there were. And they were actually pretty good, and a pretty good alternative band for the time. And it was pretty much like an alternative version, like a '90s version of the Runaways. You ever seen the Runaways? Yeah, it's a lot like that.
I see.
And Courtney Love was just as insane, if not more insane, than Cherie Curry.
You can just watch one interview of Courtney, and you're like, all right, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I see Courtney
She's
Love.
not hard to. Her personality is not hard to read. She's like she is what she is.
Yeah, like me, I see her. I see her and how she is and how strung out she is half the time, and I'm just like, my life's not going so bad.
Yeah.
And and that's no like real jab at Courtney Love. She's experienced more in life than I probably ever will. But at the same time, it's just at the cost of fame. If you lose yourself that bad.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the best recovery cases I can really think of was John Frusciante from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Have you? Are you both aware of the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Yes, I don't know.
I've listened to music. I don't know anything.
Okay, well,
beyond that.
John Frusciante was 18 years old when he got the call to be the guitarist of the Red Hot Chili Peppers after the unfortunate death of the original guitarist Hillel Slovak, and to be pushed into the limelight at the age of 18. Like, he was excited to become a part of the Chili Peppers.
Especially the rock star life.
Oh, yeah. And he loved it. He was just like, I'm part of like my favorite band. I'm in the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They do an album called Mother's Milk, which has a cover of a Higher Ground by Stevie Wonder, and it like takes off, and they become really popular. And then they're like, okay, let's actually do something awesome with this next album. And then they do Blood, Sex, Sugar Magic, and it takes off as well. It becomes one of the highest. It actually becomes, I think, the highest selling album of that year.
Wow.
And John, who's 21 or 22 at the time, all of a sudden gets just this disenfranchised idea in his mind, like we're being commercialized to the point of where it's not worth it to be an artist anymore. But yet he's making all this money and is enjoying all these all this stuff, and he just decides, I'm just going to quit the band. So he quits the band at the peak of their success and goes into being a social recluse and a deep heroin addict. And by deep heroin addict, I mean, you should see the videos of him on, in the middle of his heroin addiction. The guy is pretty much a walking skeleton, and his teeth are rotting out of his head because he's not taking care of himself. He actually forms abscesses all over his arm that, from the constant injection and from needles and everything. Yeah. And they did an interview with him in 1996 where they asked him, why do you use heroin so much and why are you so open about it? He's like, because it helps me keep in touch with the inner beauty that the world tries to seep out of it and humanity tries to seep out of it and all that. And he had this really bad idea in his head about what artistry was and how you had to kind of seclude yourself off so people don't pollute your art. But he didn't come to the conclusion that art is in the eye of the beholder and that art can be anything to anyone. And the person who puts it out there, they can have their interpretation. They can have what they say it means.
But multiple people will have their own.
Exactly. And John didn't understand that. He was too young, and he had so much thrust onto him. And there was this huge fire. It was actually, if things hadn't worked out the way they did, John would have probably been another member of the 27 Club. The famous rock stars who have died at the age of 27. Yeah, and he would have been a member of it. And there was a huge house fire that claimed all of his guitars and his record collections and all of his collector's items. His house was pretty much just torched up, nothing left. And the guys from the Red Hot Chili Peppers paid for him to go to rehab. He went to rehab, was in rehab for, and then he took a year off and actually just really got in tune with himself. And then in 1990, I think it was 1998, the Chili Peppers asked him, hey, do you want to be in the band again? And he started crying, and he was just like, I'd like that very much, man. I love that. And John rejoined the Chili Peppers, and then they did Californication, and
wow.
And that's probably their best
album.
That's
an amazing story.
Oh yeah,
That's very inspiring.
Yeah, John Frusciante, he's one of my favorite guitarists because of his playing style and also just of how
his story and just what he's gone through.
Oh yeah,
the way he sees it.
Yeah, and he's actually really gifted person in terms of art and terms of music. Like, he loves music. He lives and breathes
music.
Yeah, and that's all he's ever been about. And I wouldn't say I've had nowhere near the struggles of that, but I have had the struggles of being a musician. Especially, I was in a band for such a long time where I was pretty much the road manager, the booker, the roadie, the technician, the lead songwriter. I was pretty much doing everything, and these guys were coasting the entire time. And I didn't like it. Yeah. I hated it. I hated every second I was there.
Be a team effort.
And I just wanted to. I just wanted to just break all my equipment so I wouldn't have to go to practice. No, really. I was just sitting there.
Got to that point. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just sitting there. I was looking at my amplifier, and I'm just like, if I were to take a sledgehammer to this thing, I would never have to play it again. And I didn't think. I wasn't thinking.
That's sad that you get to that point, though,
Yeah, and I'm glad that I got out of it, and I'm glad that I, eventually just, my brain got in the right way, and I was like, boy, am I glad I didn't. Right? Because actually a lot of the equipment that I have that is actually in there. Oh. It's actually in there in the jam room now.
Really?
So, yeah. That was the whole thing.
I'll send an apology out to Union. We're about an hour late getting started.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, Union. There were a few complications. There was some stuff with... I was the primary reason we were late because I was getting new tires put on my truck because the front ones were pretty much bald on the sides, which is not good, especially when winter is here. So had to get them replaced. And the guy took for hell and ever, and I had to pay $700 to get them done. So that was the whole thing. Anyway, yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about that, Union. And so yeah,
one person asked Nate, "Have you seen the Mortal Kombat 11 gameplay?"
I have not. I've seen the trailer, which has that terrible half-ass rap song in it. Like, look, I love rap. Rap is one of my main jams, but that song's not good.
You know, you don't seem like the type that'd be listening to rap. So what kind do you listen to? Do you listen to old school rap, or are you in? Do you have any newer genres?
I'm more into old school. However, there are some new people
Gangsta's
out.
Paradise.
Gangsta's Paradise. Okay. You're pretty much talking about the. You're pretty much talking about that's in a lot of people's minds. That's the biggest crossover rap song probably in history, and if you ask me, probably my favorite albums. If you ask me, Nas's Illmatic is just a journey through New York that is just absolutely beautiful to listen to from beginning to end. I mean, and then of course there's old school like NWA, Grandmaster Flash.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The Furious Five, Wu-Tang Clan. Wu-Tang.
Wu-Tang forever.
Bring the ruckus. Bring the motherfucking ruckus.
Yes.
I love that shit. Ice Cube as well. His early work was really, really good, especially on America's Most Wanted, which is probably, to me, his best album.
I loved that album.
Yeah, and then, of course, there's New School. I would say, XXXTentacion, gone way too soon. Gone way too soon.
I can't even believe you said that. You don't seem like the type to listen to X.
Oh, yeah.
I love some XX.
X has really good, like the song composition is really good, but his lyrics, they speak to an internal sadness that most artists don't have a good lock on nowadays. Logic is pretty good, too. I like Logic a lot.
I do like Logic.
And then, of course, there's... I
like Juice WRLD.
Juice WRLD? Yeah, I've heard of them. But there's actually... the Gorillaz, their last album was pretty much just like a gigantic who's who of rap aficionado appearrances. Mm-hmm. And probably my favorite is Let Me Out on that. But then, of course, there's just a whole bunch. Like, Dr. Dre is probably one of my heroes in terms of his production.
Yeah, for sure.
Just from his production with NWA, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, and then his solo stuff, The Chronic, 2001, and then Compton, his final album, which it's sort of like Illmatic. It's sort of like a journey through Compton, Watts. Like, you can hear the streets and the sounds of the city through that album, and it's beautiful.
That's awesome.
And I love stuff like that. I love when artists take that's
they just take you through a journey on the whole album.
Yeah, and also Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, Kendrick
How to Pimp a Butterfly was a great album, and also I forget the name of the most recent album that he just dropped as a surprise.
Album?
Yeah.
That one was.
Yeah, and he just dropped it as a surprise, just like, here you go. Yeah. And it's just like everyone's just like, what? Kendrick, we didn't know you were working. He's just like, I stay working.
After that album dropped, I knew people that weren't even like fans of rap who were listening to that.
Oh yeah, and well,
because his wordplay is incredible.
Oh yeah, I'd say Kendrick right now is probably, in terms of mainstream rappers, that's like in terms of popularity and style, he's probably the best right now. Logic is popular, but I don't think he's anywhere near as popular as Kendrick.
Yeah.
Because Kendrick, he's just got a whole new thing going, and a rapper that that we lost last year that was actually really sad for my little sister because she was a big fan. Well, not really him, but they were a big fan of Mac Miller.
Oh, Mac, yes.
Yeah, the Mac Attack.
So sad.
Yeah, dude, Mac Miller. Losing him, that was
much love to
rough.
Mac Miller.
And of course, losing X last year too. I mean, at such a young age, him making that much of an impact.
20 years old.
Yeah, dude, 20. I mean, making that much of an impact and
He's
still feeling it
actually got a kid
nowadays.
coming now. Do you know that?
Yeah, I heard, man.
Sarah is asking if you saw the Tom Holland lip sync battle.
Which one? Is it the one where he does Umbrella? Which I saw that and I love Zendaya, but Tom won. I can't help it. I see that video and I see him just like I see him just like come out and let that skin tight. I'm just like, at first I'm like, oh God, but then I see him dance. I'm just like, damn, boy got moves. Like, he did a kip up in high heels. Who does that? He did a kip up in high heels. I mean, I can do a kip up, but I'm
not in high heels.
But not in heels. No. I'm a chunky monkey. I can't
put some heels on, and then you'll have respect for women.
Oh no, I've worn heels. I've worn heels. Oh yeah.
Want to tell us about that?
Oh, of course I will. First time I wore heels, it was we had this competition called the Miss. It was the Miss J.J. Kelly pageant, and it was a joke one where the guys would cross dress. Mm-hmm. And I competed in it one year, and I came out, had these gigantic balloon boobies, and I was wearing 6-inch heels. Oh my gosh. I came out there, my calves were on fire the entire time, and I'm just like standing there trying to smile. Meanwhile, under my breath, I'm just like fuck. Yeah, just like waving, trying to look all nice and everything. And for my talent, like I came out on stage and I played Wonderwall.
Oh my god!
And I said maybe.
Oh god!
Man, that's funny.
Did you come out with a beard, or were you shaved? Or?
I was clean shaven back then. Actually, it was right before senior pictures, where my mom's friend said I looked like a chubby cheeked version of Mario Lopez, and I'm just like, I don't see it. If I looked like Mario Lopez, I would never have to worry about anything in my entire life. People would just look at me and be like, it's an Adonis. But instead, they look at me and it's just like, oh, chubby cheeks, just want to pinch it. I'm just like, yeah. I got these big ass dimples I can't do nothing about.
Oh, dimples are adorable. I got a dimple.
Yeah, I get you.
Anyways, but get into our talking point. You wanted to talk about truth and something.
Truth and perception. Truth and perception. So, there's a lot of like misleading stuff that like people who deliberately mislead you. It's just like there's a lot of YouTubers who have come out and turns with these. I remember confession videos, like people doing confession videos on YouTube. I think it was like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And everyone did a confession video, and then turns out some people actually blatantly lied about some of the stuff that happened.
What do you mean confession videos?
Like they would come out and they would say, turns out my mom has cancer, or they'd come out and just be like, turns out my girlfriend was in a car accident, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it's just like these vloggers would, they'd have a little bit of turbulence on a flight, and their confession video would be, I nearly died on a flight back home. Yeah, it turns out everyone would and it's all about truth and perception, because everyone has the perception of something. However, when the truth is revealed, the people who already have this ready-made perception in their brain will either recant what they believe, or they'll just be like, nope, didn't happen. This is what I believe.
Yeah,
in spite of everything.
That's the thing about first impressions. I mean, it sucks, as far as when you don't. It takes time to get to know a person, but oftentimes, no matter what, the first impression is always going to be.
Of course.
So if you accidentally mess up, like if we were to give a tour to somebody and the place just looked like utter crap, we were moving stuff around and so and look at that, it would suck, because people would think, oh well, we're not nearly as professional as we should be, but we just happen to be moving stuff that day.
Right. Of course. Well, definitely. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying, and perception, like first impressions. I have a history of making bad first impressions, because I suffer from what a lot of people call motor mouth. I can't shut the hell up sometimes, and like eventually I worked it into my head. Like whenever people are trying to talk and I don't notice it, like I'll like internally I've kind of made myself like an imaginary little monkey in the back of my head. Like every time I'm talking too much and someone else is trying to get a point in, I'm just like, so yeah, it's just like, so what were you going to say? Yeah, and it's like it wakes me up and it makes me realize that, yeah, this person's trying to talk.
Yeah.
So stop trying to dominate the conversation, because that was something I was really bad about, because I just didn't know. I couldn't take social cue. I didn't take social cue.
I'm terrible at that shit too. Yeah.
And I've worked on it over time. And I've worked on, like, I've tried to be more approachable, more, I've tried to present myself better. I've tried to, my dad always told me, it's just like, son, present yourself every day the way you want to be seen by, like, the person you really want to impress them. And I've held on to that for the longest time. But when I started growing my beard out because of reasons, my dad was just like, good Lord, son. Like, And I'm just like, I know, Dad, I know. He's just like, no, I've been where you're at, and your beard looks good. Just make sure you keep it lined up and everything. It's like, I'm trying. And I am. I mean, like right now, I'm the most bearded person outside. Well, in the Renegades, I'm the most
I thought you were about to say
person.
the beardest person in this room. I was like,
Well,
no,
I
it's
am
not
the most,
that big
I
of a
am the most
competition.
beardest person.
Yeah, I can do a goatee, but anything outside, like I'm gonna have to shave this because I just get scraggly. I don't grow enough, like what you're doing there. I'm good with a goatee and mustache.
I just shaved earlier.
Hey, there you go.
Just kidding.
Hey, well, I did clean shaven look. I like. So, for me, I've always had difficulties talking to people because my like I said, bad first impressions, and I always suffered from doing that. And it's only been here in the last 5 years, ever since I started doing the YouTube channel, where I've actually become more approachable and I've actually started to be able to talk and like build not only personal but business relationships as well. And and also when I was a kid, I used to be very. I think one reason why I did it was because when I was a kid, I was very shy, and I would often talk too much to overcompensate. And also I'm on this little bit of a thing where I self-deprecate with a little self-deprecating humor, like just be like, "Hey, who's the fat ass in the room? You're looking at him," and like, yeah, you see, it makes people laugh, but it's at your expense.
I'm gonna hit you.
Exactly.
Don't do that shit.
No, I know, and it's something I have to break. You see, but it was a defense mechanism that I came up with for a long time, and it's whenever you're used to doing it.
A lot of people do that though.
Yeah, and I just have to break it. That's just something I have to do.
I mean, I see an aspect to it. Like, it's one of those things. Like, obviously, joking on yourself is always fun, but if you do it too much to a point of like, okay, well now it just sounds like you're depressed
down.
or something.
Yeah.
And so
and I don't want that. I don't want that anymore.
So on the lines of truth and perception, have you something that I thought would be interesting? Have you guys heard about the whole fire fraud? It's now a documentary on Netflix and Hulu that they just released.
No.
About like this festival that.
Oh, Fire Festival.
Yes.
Ja Rule and
what's his name? Billy McFarland.
Yeah, Billy McFarland. I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah.
What is this?
That was a whole thing.
It's basically it was a festival that was designed, and the guy basically said that he bought out this island that Pablo Escobar used to have, which it was, but he did not buy it out. And basically, the entire thing was built on a pipe dream. He sold basically a pipe dream to not only the people that were buying tickets, but to his staff, and tried to get a full festival together within 2 months, 3 months, instead of a year worth of preparation. Well, it turns out, long story short, everything goes wrong. They literally go all the way up to the day of the festival. There's still not tents and stuff to house these people, and the guy's still like, no, we got to do it now. We have too much money invested in it. So all these people get charters and get planes over there, and they've got top models like Bella Hadid and Kendall Jenner and all these people coming. They get there, and it's like nothing was as advertised. There wasn't food to feed these people. There wasn't housing for these people to stay at. All their beds were wet. And there wasn't even a plane for them to get home. So it kind of just started madness.
As a matter of fact, it was like FEMA tents. Like
Yeah.
they had these like...
It was Hurricane
God.
Matthew tents.
Yeah,
Is what it was.
Yeah, and it was these little tents that... And there weren't enough of them for everybody, and people just started stealing tents. Just like grabbing tents and just
It kind of became an everyman for themselves.
Yeah, and you tried to
It was
go
crazy.
to... And there was a Sandals resort down from it, but... They were all booked, and they couldn't help
because they said it was like the most busy. The weekend that they chose happened to be like the one weekend in the Bahamas that
Everyone.
they said they have some kind of thing there.
And
so it's just like it was booked up.
People trying to get home and everything. People were detained in the embassy. They locked people inside of the embassy because there were so many people there. It was ridiculous, and turns out. Ja Rule's in a lot of legal hot water about it, and so is Billy McFarland. So is Billy McFarland. Actually, Billy had all of his assets seized, his bank accounts frozen, and he's like he'll be in prison for a while if all this goes through, which it looks like it may very well. Especially
now with the media turning it every which way. It's
I actually saw a video. Internet Historian actually did a video package on it, and it's a good little condensed 10-minute version. and there's a little bit of a comedy aspect thrown into it,
Mm-hmm.
which internet historians infamous for. But yeah, it was a whole situation, and there was also in terms of truth and perception. There was also a oh gosh, what's the name of that? That's it was gosh, my brain's just fried now. My brain, like Fire Festival, just burned my brain out.
Well, so this is basically like, from the sound of it, because I haven't seen anything. This kind of sounds like a micro view into what the collapse of civilization would basically go down like.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, lack of shelter, lack of food, lack of clean water,
Yeah.
overpopulation, and madness. That's pretty much it. That's just you can see it as a sample group of like absolute chaos.
I felt so bad for the one lady that Billy went to and was like, "You've got to provide food for these people last minute." She said that she took, like, I want to say $50,000 from her savings account, and she
Yeah.
like owned that restaurant or whatever just to feed those people, and like she's not getting compensated at all from that.
Yeah,
She's like, I don't even like to talk about it. Like she like on TV, she just started tearing up. She was like, that was my, life savings.
of course, and
It's just awful.
it's hard to really gauge the whole situation, especially because there were people out there trying to pretend like it was like a rich person's only,
Yeah.
and turns out it wasn't. Turns out it was actually it's just a bunch of college kids who saved up money and had money saved up, and they put it towards it, and it wasn't enough. Like Billy promised all these artists were going to be like Blink 182.
They immediately canceled.
Yeah, all these EDM artists and everything, and yeah, they canceled too.
Yep.
And I think the closest that Blink 182 ever got was like they had a concert in Florida that took place the day before.
Union says she got her money back through GoFundMe.
Oh,
that's
cool.
awesome.
That's
That
awesome.
is great.
I didn't know that.
That's
That is
good to
really
know.
cool. Because
That's awesome.
well, it's good to know that there is some justice in the world, because whenever something like that happens and a person is pretty much left three sheets to the wind, like out there, it's good to know that people care enough to like
Yeah.
leap on board and do that.
That's the beautiful thing also about social media now is just being able to share those stories and get a GoFundMe account going for somebody like that. And
Yeah,
Sarah wants to know what's the worst movie I've ever seen. That's easy. Independence Day Resurgence.
I'm still on about that.
Fuck that movie.
Of
Fuck
course.
it. Fuck it right in the ass.
mine was Krampus for sure.
Krampus.
I don't, is that how you pronounce it?
Is it the holiday movie about the evil goat demon? Yeah, that's Krampus. I watched it. I thought it was okay. I thought it was like, but
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No.
Yeah, me neither.
no, it's a good question. Worst movie I've ever seen. It's a tough one. I would say, ironically, The Room, but I've gotten so much enjoyment out of it later in
Really?
life.
You didn't like The Room? Is that the one
no,
about
no.
the kid that was like locked up for a long time?
No. The Tommy Wiseau movie.
Oh, okay.
The
Okay,
one
I've
that's like,
seen that one.
"You're tearing me apart, Lisa."
Okay, no. I
Okay,
haven't seen that.
now that gets me confused because we also did a short film called The Room, and,
Oh,
and
yeah, you
there
did.
seems to be that. So there's a lot of movies called The Room.
Yeah,
now, so.
yeah. Well, the Room,
So much can go on.
made by
over it.
Tommy Wiseau, came out in 2003, and it is considered by many to be the worst made movie. Not just in terms of a script, not just in terms of acting, not just in terms of continuity or anything. It's considered the worst film of all time in terms of just utter like full presentation. But it has become a cult phenomenon because of just how bad it is. It's a movie. It's literally a movie so bad.
That people go watch it just
It's
to be like,
good.
it's so bad.
Yeah, it's literally a movie so bad that it's good because everyone always quotes it like, "You're tearing me apart, Lisa," and and people are always just like, as Tommy Wiseau is like, "Hi, doggy, you're my favorite customer. Bye." It's like, yeah, and nobody knows where he's from. That's another thing. Tommy Wiseau is like an alien, in a human's body who just so happens to inhabit it. Just so happens to live here on Earth, and it's weird because his accent is all over the place. Like one day he's almost French, one day he's almost German, one day he's almost like he speaks nearly perfect English. It's just like,
What are you?
yeah. And
Sarah, you don't like water boy? What
What did
what
someone
is
say,
good for
water
you?
boy?
Water boy good for you.
water boy.
Water sucks.
It
Water
really,
really
really
sucks.
Well, water sucks.
No, Waterboy's a good movie.
It is. I thought it was funny. In
It
terms
was
of
made
Adam
by the
Sandler movies,
devil.
It's like my top. It's in my top 5 Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite Adam Sandler movie is probably Big Daddy or Punch Drunk Love.
Punch Drunk. I don't think I've seen
It's pretty good. But Big Daddy's the one everybody knows because that little kid. It's like kangaroo song, kangaroo song, kangaroo song. All right.
I just love fucking what is it? The golfing one.
Oh, Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore.
That one's like
you're gonna
3.
die, clown.
Knocks the nose off the thing. And also Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed himself, as a one-handed golf instructor.
Yeah.
Who could have seen that working? It's like Chess Peterson's one of my idols because no matter what, he loses his hand to an alligator. He's like, screw it, I'm jumping back in, and he rips the gator's eye out for good measure. Number two, he loses his hand over and loses his wooden hand over and over and over again. But in spite of all that, still maintains a positive outlook on life.
And then Adam Sandler finds the alligator, kicks his head off, and then fucking gives it to him as a
Yeah,
present.
and then he
dies.
But by a surprise, he falls out the window backwards and dies in the fall. But guess what? He goes to heaven, and he's next to Abraham Lincoln waving at Happy Gilmore from the sky. It's just like, that is my hero. That is a man with ultimate optimism. It's like everything's great. It's like, lost my hand. Oh, don't worry about that. It's made of wood. Real sturdy. Truck runs over it. Doesn't complain or anything. He's just like, I'm telling you, Happy. I'm telling you, Happy. We just need to get your short game good.
One person said they thought the worst one was the Batman and Robin movie.
I don't think I ever
That's
saw
probably my least favorite comic book movie by a mile. That's like, I've seen Howard the Duck. I can laugh at parts of Howard the Duck. Knowing that Batman and Robin started out at Tim Burton's Batman and slowly devolved down to that's not only sad, that's depressing. Because you had such a great Batman movie with Jack Nicholson as the Joker, Michael Keaton, who unbelievably is probably the best Batman ever, and then you have like such a really well crafted movie in terms of style and like some parts of the script don't add up and like there's certain parts like the Joker's henchmen randomly are just firing in the air while chasing Batman. It's like, why are you doing that? What, you aim at the Batmobile?
Yeah.
Lavina's over there giving us a devil's horns. What's up, Lavina?
Taku Racer wants to know what's your favorite Batmobile. I love like military tech. I'm a huge military guy. The Tumbler, the fucking thing from the Dark Knight. That thing was
the Tumbler
fucking
was
cool.
badass.
Except for the whole like, okay, we're gonna like eject into a motorcycle. That didn't like that. Just,
the Bat Pod,
that introduces
that was a little bit.
That introduces a complexity in vehicle design that I just don't understand. Like,
well, that's one thing I didn't understand either. But Christopher Nolan has gone on to say it's a lot like what the directors of John Wick have said. If it does 100% match up, it's okay as long as it fits within the rule of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it looked cool, except for like when Batman, like he's on the motorcycle and like drifts and like the bike. I don't know if you remember
no, that's actually been shown to work. Like they've actually had vehicles like that where the wheels
just
are on a rotating die,
Okay.
and they actually so you can execute a more like extreme turn and stop. It actually does that. The wheels actually turn so the vehicle itself doesn't turn over. The central frame stays the same.
Wheels? Okay.
Just the wheels turn.
Well, anyways, I mean, overall, the Tumbler looked cool as shit.
Oh yeah, I love the Tumbler. My favorite, I would probably say, it's a simple design, but to me, it speaks so many volumes. The one from the Batman animated series, just that perfect like Art Deco style design, like just long, and also having all these gadgets on it and everything, and being just an awesome car. Just a very awesome car. What about you?
Honestly, I have not. I really don't know. I haven't watched that many Batman movies.
What's the Batman movies you have seen?
The Dark Knight.
Dark Knight?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one with Heath Ledger's Joker.
That's the one.
That's the one that a lot of people.
That's the one you need to watch.
Well,
Okay.
I would say that one, the first Michael Keaton Batman movie. I'd say, and of course you can throw in Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises.
Well, yeah, man.
Those like all the Nolan
trilogy.
films, the Nolan Batman movies, which is Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises. All three of those tell a really good story altogether.
Compared to the second and third one, it almost feels like Batman Begins is weaker compared to the other two.
It is. It's because the problem with origin stories nowadays is everyone's aware of them now. Everyone's aware of them now, and
You're wasting time.
Yeah.
telling it over.
Well,
again.
that's one reason why the Amazing Spider-Man movies didn't take off, because they wasted the entire first half of the first movie retelling the exact same story we just got done watching in the Tobey Maguire ones. And and what do they do in Batman, or what do they do in Spider-Man Homecoming? They completely gloss over it, and instead we just jump into Peter Parker, being Peter Parker.
Which, speaking of which, I'm assuming you've seen the Far From Home one.
Yep, I've seen the trailer.
Is that the dude that does the magic? Is that Mark Maguire? Or
that's
Tobey
Mysterio.
Maguire?
Oh, that's Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay, damn. I was gonna say.
No, they look
like,
the same. That's
say.
actually one thing that people said, that Tobey Maguire didn't want at first didn't want to come back for the third Spider-Man movie. It's just like, well, who can we get to replace him? Who looks like him? Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, because they were in that one movie, Brothers, right? With the
that was a heartbreaker, man.
That was cool. I liked that movie. That was a good one.
Oh, I liked it too. It's just it was a heartbreaker at the end.
Oh yeah.
Tobey Maguire having that breakdown was just like,
PTSD
oh, it's too real, friggin' real.
It was a good movie.
Oh yeah.
They definitely look alike. So that's why I was confused.
Well,
I was like, okay, is this like this basically they're throwing Toby in there for fun?
Well, that's what I could discern the difference between them in terms of like their facial structure, because Jake Gyllenhaal, his face is a little more rounded, whereas Tobey Maguire's face is a little bit sharper. Like his chin is a little bit sharper, and you can actually see his cheeks a lot more, or his cheekbones a little bit more. Yeah. But yeah, overall, man, I've for Spider-Man Far From Home, the debate of it being before or after Avengers Infinity War, they've gone on to say that it is set after Infinity War.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's kind of weird to like, you're promoting all these movies without showing what's happening in Infinity War. But at this point, everybody knows that it's your standard movie. Obviously, all the good guys are gonna kind of win or something. Even if some of the characters from Infinity War are permanently dead, permadead. The main ones are there, and obviously Spider-Man is gonna come back.
Always.
Well, they're talking about who will stay permadead from the snap and who will die in Endgame. Dead from the snap, I think maybe Scarlet Witch will be permanently killed off.
She does kind of seem a little OP.
Well, yeah. She is OP, although she's human. That's her only downfall. She has all this magnificent, infinite power, can lift up entire structures and then throw them with her mind, but her body is just she's a frail human. Just like Tony Stark without his Iron Man armor. You take him out of the armor, he's a genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, but his neck snaps just as easy as any other human. So it's just one of those things. Like, for me, I think a lot of the people are going to come back, but I think Scarlet Witch is going to stay dead. I hope Gamora comes back from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, she'll definitely come back, I'm sure.
I don't know, though. That's one thing that she's not confirmed for Guardians 3 yet because of the whole James Gunn fiasco. You heard about it?
No.
James Gunn, the director of the first two, someone pulled out a bunch of his old tweets from 6-7 years ago, where he was yelling, or he was just giving a tongue-in-cheek edgy boy critique of the Expendables movies. Mm-hmm. He's like, man, this movie's so manly. I grabbed the soy boy next to me and screwed him, and I'm just like, damn, James.
Yeah.
And but he wrote that tongue in cheek way back when he didn't have a job.
Yeah.
He was pretty much just just having fun.
Yeah.
But he grew as a person and became a much more balanced individual. Yeah. But they pulled out those old tweets and they're just like, "Hey James, remember this?" And then Disney fired him.
Yeah, I definitely recently went through Facebook and deleted all the stupid shit that I would write up when I was in high school.
Oh,
when you're a kid, you don't know.
There's a bunch of old stuff on Twitch. I'm glad people didn't find, because back then I was terrible. I was just I said maybe 2-3 words on stream. It's just like, wow, this guy's interesting. Wow, this guy's got so many subscribers on YouTube. Wow, he's so amazing. Look at him play this game and say nothing. And I'm just like, oh, I was just thinking in my head, what if Keemstar found it and just decided to make a drama alert thing about the whole thing, and I'd just be like, oh god, here we go.
So and so the Captain Marvel thing obviously is all that takes place in before the whole Infinity
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah, the Captain Marvel takes place in, I believe, the 1990s.
Okay, so when does that come out?
That comes out March.
And then
Comes out 1 month before.
and then Avengers comes out.
Endgame. Yeah, it comes
Okay.
out 1 month before Endgame. I'm thinking in Endgame, Captain America and either Captain America, Iron Man, or both are going to die. My bet is Captain America, but I wouldn't be surprised if Iron Man goes or both of them go. That's one thing that I'm afraid of. I'm very afraid that both of them are going to go.
I mean, yeah, I feel like Captain America has definitely kind of completed his
journey.
arc. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much further they could really go with him.
Well,
but
you can't really, because he's had closure with Peggy. He had closure with a bunch of things, and he had his growth in both Civil War and Winter Soldier as a character. And now I just think that you can't really go any further with him. And I think Thor, the same thing with Thor. I think Thor will live, but I think they're going to phase Thor out, and he's just going to be someone they call in as a cameo.
Well, he's got to go rebuild Asgard.
Of course.
Even though there's not really any Asgardians
for
left,
now. But we don't know what's going to happen because there's a whole thing that's just...
Well, that wasn't a snap thing. That was a fucking Thanos destroyed the shit out of all the surviving.
I know, but they're saying that there's time travel involved, and when you get time travel involved, things can go all over the place and go haywire. That's just like, for me, the X-Men Days of Future Past, I loved that movie at first, but over time I've looked at it and critiqued it a little bit more. I'm just like, this doesn't really add up in terms of like time travel and stuff like that. Yeah. But I thought we'd lost Chad.
I feel like Logan kind of undercut the whole like apocalypse and Days of Future Past.
It did, and I'm glad because Logan was a beautiful, brilliant send-off for Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I don't think you could have ended it any better.
Yeah, it just kind of made it a little confusing. Like, okay, what exactly is happening now? Like, what are we supposed to be?
Well, that's one thing that I think they wanted to sew that up with, because that's effectively considered the final quote unquote final 20th Century Fox X-Men movie,
right? Because
Disney bought the rights to the rest of the Marvel franchise.
Oh boy, so excited!
Outside of Spider-Man, of course. Spider-Man still belongs to Sony.
Disney's buying up everything.
Of course they are, because why not? Especially given how the copyright system works here in the United States. The copyright system, how it used to work under the Statute of Anne, the original Statute of Anne, it was 28 years. 28 years, you create something for 28 years, it's yours. No one else can copy it. No one else can bank off of it. No one else can, you are guaranteed federal protection by the federal government. But over time, artists demanded more and more and more and more and more time. And now it's I think it's 75 years after publication plus 50 years after the death of the author, which to me is a little bit ridiculous, because what is a person contributing once they're dead?
Yeah,
you're dead.
Real. That doesn't make sense.
Dead. You're in the ground rotting, and yet you're not creating anything new.
Well, you're not, but I mean, as far as the impact that people have had in the past.
Yeah, but here's my thing. If I ever get popular enough, I would want to draw up a contract, and this is a legally binding contract. Anything that I create that is mine, any ideas, any stories, after 20, I want to do this as a little bit of an FU to the federal government, because the federal government in certain aspects can get bent. Anything I create 28 years after its original creation and release is public domain. No one else can touch, and no one else can gain trademark or copyright.
I have a traitor here sitting next to me. Can you please come and arrest him?
What? Come on. What? Because honestly, what am I like? If I don't make money off of something within 28 years of me creating it, I'm a bad artist.
Yeah.
It's like people said, "Oh, Jimi Hendrix, he only got rich after he was dead." No, he was rich as hell when he was alive. He became, and his family got even richer after he died. But still, that's 28 years after Jimi Hendrix's death, or whenever he created all of his music. Still, that's plenty of time to make money off of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And same thing with George Lucas. George Lucas, who re-releases his films over and over and over again.
What do you mean re-releases?
Well, it's just like the special edition versions of his movies that he did in the 90s. He released he re-released Star Wars episodes A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. Released them in theaters again,
What?
quote
Really?
unquote updated. Han shot first, you bastard. And
I
yeah,
remember that shit.
yeah,
So stupid.
yeah. So dumb.
It makes it so much more unbelievable because the fucking I don't know what the particular alien called.
It was Greedo.
Greedo, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, he's literally sitting at point blank range. I mean, you would have to turn your gun purposely to miss.
Yeah,
So,
and Greedo and they edited it later on because George was absolutely adamant. He's just like, no, I want to portray Han as as a good guy. It's like Han's not a good guy. He's an anti-hero, you jackass. Come on, you like he's a character archetype that doesn't have to bend to the will of the good guy archetype. He does what he wants, and that's
Exactly.
why people like him. Because I didn't like Luke Skywalker. I'm just gonna be honest. To me, I thought he was just a complaining little brat.
I'll be honest. The whole aspect of The Last Jedi, I wish they would have actually pushed it further. Like he was done with the Jedi. Like he was actually
Yeah.
like, dude, fuck
Turn
these
to the
dudes.
dark, like
Well, not turn the dark side, but like be done with like it's time for the Jedi because clearly neither the Jedi or the Sith can get their shit together, and so he's
Well,
like, fuck, I'm gonna goddamn be on the middle ground. But it kind of
Well, yeah, the gray,
You
like
know.
the creation of the gray Jedi's effect, like
Right.
no Jedi or Sith order, just Jedi's being
And-
themselves.
and and to some degree he still kind of went along with that, but like at the end he kind of more or less pushed Rey
Rey
to kind
to-
of basically take over. Not that,
Yeah, and which that's one of my multitude of problems I have with Last Jedi. I could
Rey being able to just do anything she wants.
look,
Whatever the fucking script says.
yeah, and the fact that she says the term Mary Sue is sexist, I'm just like, yeah, that term's existed long before, and it was used to describe Superman.
It doesn't. Yeah,
For
it's,
so
I
long.
don't really see it being a woman thing. I think it's you didn't earn any kind of ability. Like again, take for instance. Obviously, I keep referring to my book. It's not out yet. I apologize, but my character, right?
Rhaenyra.
She is skilled in the story because she's a special forces operative. By that, you inherently expect her to be skilled and competent in certain.
Yeah,
things,
she's
like,
a badass in her own right.
Right.
She earned that.
But
she
and
works at
so
that.
yeah, and so there's when I start off my story, she's already kind of skilled to a degree. But I do plan on going back and showing some prequel stuff as far as like the development of that character, as
Of
well
course.
as her developing in the future. More kind of less idealistic and stuff. Becoming more kind of stoic and stuff. So
She becomes a realist.
but there,
effectively,
but there has to be something. You have to earn that ability, whether it's through loss or lessons learned, kind of shit. Yeah. So.
Well,
How we doing, Tom?
and I get that, and I understand. I like that 100% because there was actually a trailer for Star Wars: The Old Republic, which is a free to play massive multiplayer online RPG.
I thought you were talking about the one that was for like Xbox.
The KOTOR. That's KOTOR. Knights of the Old Republic.
Okay. That was
Knights of the
such a
Old
good
Republic
game.
is really good.
Such a good
Both the first one and the second one are pretty good, but the first one I like the best. But the Old Republic, they actually had a expansion added in called Knights of the Fallen Empire, and in that, it was a story of these two brothers who were serving their father, and they both were imbued with the powers of the Jedi. One of them was prodigious, and the other one had to work for it the entire time. The one who was prodigious always helped out the brother who had to work for it, but the brother who worked for it eventually became a very very powerful in his own
Almost
right.
better.
Oh, no, actually.
Really?
Turns out he actually makes a mistake, and in that mistake, he loses his arm and a good portion of this side of his face.
Oh wow.
I did see the cinematic.
Yeah,
I
the
think, so,
cinematic trailer told such a great story. It told a better story than Last Jedi, and it was only like 5 minutes long.
I'm telling you. I mean, obviously, in 2020 hindsight, they didn't know that Carrie Fisher was going to pass away and stuff. But it would have made so much sense to just have her do the thing, flying the spaceship into the big wing spaceship where
That
like,
would
the
have made more
hyperspace jump.
sense. Originally,
For her to
in
sacrifice
JJ,
herself
in
in a
J.J.
way.
Abrams' script, that sacrifice was supposed to be Akbar, Admiral Akbar.
Okay,
And-
that would have made sense too.
and-
That or just let her die in
let her
space.
pass away
I mean,
way.
that admittedly, that was like, oh damn, they just killed her right off. That was
No,
kind
I
of
was
quick.
shocked when that
But
happened.
if they had gone with that, where instead of purple-haired lady that nobody cared about,
we didn't know this
I mean,
character at all.
yeah.
She made stupid decisions. Why are we following her?
Yeah,
Why is she
yeah,
being
yeah.
deliberately vague
And
to
what-
Poe
yeah, and
Dameron?
if they had at
Yeah.
least kept her around for another movie, maybe there would have been a little bit more, attachment to
Maybe
her.
she could have been
But she was
sort
just
of
there, gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like, so there's no emotional involvement in that. There's like, okay, cool, bye.
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
and also that scene, while cool, the going light speed into something.
No.
The way they did it sort of breaks the rules of light speed a little bit. However, I am willing to concede.
I mean, it makes you wonder, like, okay, why don't they just always do this?
Yeah, and which I'm willing to concede rule of cool.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah.
I remember that part happening. The entire theater went from silent to oh.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
like
Oh,
everyone,
yeah.
not just one or two, everyone in the theater had the exact same reaction. I'm just like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah, and I get it. I definitely, it's one of those things where, okay, yeah, I'm cool with it. It's kind of,
Yeah.
it's one of those things you're like, well, how do you explain this and this? But I can figure that. I just wish they would have said, okay, this is Leia's send off. Let's make it.
Yeah.
That would
Actually,
make it,
Micah had a really good send off for if it was originally as it was intended, Admiral Akbar. What it would have been was Akbar lining it up and everything,
Mhm.
and then at the last second, Hux sees them lining up and sees the engines warming up for light speed. And then Hux, at the last second, would realize what's happening. He'd lean over to the intercom and go, "It's a," and then the
That's it.
instead, because Hux yelling, "It's a trap," but instead cuts off
Oh,
trap,
God.
and it's Akbar just like
that'd have been-
decimating.
yeah,
him.
that'd have been awesome.
That would have been perfect. That would have been the perfect way to send off Admiral Akbar, but they ruined it. They ruined it
So
by
they used it with a
Yeah, they-
random lady that
Yeah.
nobody really
Did
has
they
attachment to.
even? I'm trying to remember because I only watched it the first time. I couldn't stand.
I've watched it. I've watched it 3 times. And
Did Akbar even?
Nope.
He was just basically in the
Well,
background.
there was a part. I think there was something in the background that happened where Akbar was, and his ship blew up, and he died.
That dude must be old as shit though by the time, because he was like he was also in the Clone Wars,
Well-
and he was already
Well,
old.
that's
in
just
there.
like Chewbacca. Chewbacca has been alive. Actually, I think they said Chewbacca
Yeah.
actually has been alive for like 300 years.
It was like kind of like a Sari or something from Mass
Kind-
Effect, where they just
kind
live
of,
for
kind
1,000
of.
years.
Except instead of like a picturesque like perfect blue alien woman, instead it's a walking carpet.
Yeah,
As a callback to the original.
it's a bass with legs.
So for me, like overall, I think the Last Jedi as a film doesn't work, but there are parts of it that are absolutely beautiful because Rian Johnson is a great director. I will never discredit the man on being a great director. He is a great director. Some of the shots that are set up in that film are beautiful. Some like the island scenes where Rey is like staring out at the ocean and everything, and when she goes into the cave and has that mirror moment where she's contemplating like herself
Oh.
and her future and everything. That's wonderful stuff. And also the connection that she has with Kylo Ren. That's another thing too. It's just like they're like they're able to see themselves through visions, and he's able to feel the mist from the ocean on his fingertips, and he's halfway across the galaxy.
Oh yeah,
And it's beautiful stuff.
I don't argue. There's definitely a lot of good scenes there. There's definitely the whole side quest to the fucking casino planet that we could just get rid of. There's
Oh, that scene hurt me.
it was just a waste of time.
Yeah,
and it was all okay. There's only one person that can do this, but we can't use him. But we found an other person that can do
Yes.
this,
Oh my
and
gosh,
this
that
person
bothered
ends
me.
up fucking betraying us. It's just it was all a waste of 30 minutes. And oh my god, dude. Let me tell you something. If I'm flying into a fucking super weapon to save everybody, to sacrifice myself to save everybody's lives, don't let some stupid ass fucking fly T-bone me at like 200 miles an hour.
and potentially kill us both.
Yeah, exactly. In the process,
Thank
also
you.
in killing
Nice job,
everybody.
Rostico.
Yeah, and
Kelly
then
Marie Tran,
we
she's
need
a
to
nice
do it
woman.
for love.
The whole thing,
Dude.
the continuity lineups between the Force Awakens, what they did in that. My biggest problem was them killing Han Solo, but Harrison Ford said he wanted to die.
I was fine with it. I thought
To
it was
me,
a cool
to me that to me
we all knew it was gonna happen. But,
well, to me that was like the perfect way to to me that was the perfect way to sort of send off Han Solo and really give you a drive to want to defeat Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Sort of how like with Darth Vader killing Obi-Wan Kenobi. Although Obi-Wan Kenobi sort of like
Pretty much
phased out.
just- yeah, he
He sort
pretty
of
much
stopped existing.
yeah,
So
we don't hear from him anymore. He's
no,
moved on.
no. Instead, like all you can imagine is just Alec Guinness going, "I'm sorry, Luke.
Yeah.
Don't mind me." It's like I'm just going to fade
I
off.
have
into
to
the
binge
ether.
on Netflix.
But another thing that really pissed me off too was the death of Snoke. That was
Oh
something.
yeah, I
I
thought
don't-
that was like weak.
That was such a
so-
way. Like they built him up to be the
So
new
awesome.
emperor,
Yeah,
basically.
well,
and,
I had a perfect way. Me and Mike actually discussed this. I had a perfect way for him to pretty much be like kicked out of the battle and not be involved in it. That took place because the throne room fight was actually really good. Choreography aside, of course, certain parts of the choreography, I was just like, "Oh God, Ray, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Wait, what? Okay, he could have killed you right there." Like certain parts of the choreography didn't match up, but part of the one thing I would have done with Snoke is instead of the lightsaber going straight through him and killing him, instead he would have realized it at the last moment, and he would have made the lightsaber fly away, but the lightsaber would still come on and cut off his hand.
well, I have heard the theory that he's not actually dead. Like that was
It's not
actually
it's
a
not
trick.
a
move.
it's not a theory. Kathleen Kennedy confirmed he is dead.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate. But to me, I would
guess
have
there's no creativity in there.
no there. Well, Kathleen Kennedy.
Now I did like the fight scene afterwards where they're fighting all.
Oh,
like,
the throne
guards,
room.
whatever.
Throne room fight was
'Cause,
brilliant. I
yeah.
liked it most. Like I said, choreography aside, there were certain parts of the choreography I was just like, God, what are you doing? But overall, that scene was really well done. But I would have had to where Snoke, while he was holding Rey there, had her pretty much in like a submission torture, like a forced torture rack, and all of a sudden Kylo Ren very slowly turns the lightsaber towards him. Snoke realizes it at the last possible second, and he makes the lightsaber go, but the lightsaber still lights up, and it goes up, and it cuts his hand off. And I think that could have been something that could have taken Snoke out of the fight, because two of the guards would have just got him up and got him out of there, and then the whole fight scene would have happened, and then
And we also would have reached our Star Wars hand cut off quota.
exactly
So-
that's
Always.
something that always has to happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, I would have done that, and I would have had at the in the next movie, I would have had the reveal that Snoke is actually Darth Plagueis, Darth Sidious's original Sith Lord, that he somehow has survived, and I would have done that. That's personally
That would have been really cool.
Well, that's what I would have done, because that would have tied everything together. Darth Plagueis, Darth Sidious, Darth Vader, Kylo Ren, and then everything loops around, and then the Sith line is effectively dead after that.
I'll be honest. I would be totally for if like they just brought J.J. Abrams in and be like, all right, look, we're just gonna fucking go ahead and scratch that whole Last Jedi thing. We want you to redo it. Let's just continue. Let's finish the trilogy out with you. You do episode 8 and 9.
Well, he is doing 9.
Well, I know he's doing
which
9,
is fair, which is
but
good.
but that's the thing is like they broke away so many things from
His original
that
vision.
JJ had built up on 7, and they basically retconned a bunch of stuff. Is he gonna have to retcon it back, or I mean,
He probably will do a few things.
That's-
I say Kathleen Kennedy said that Snoke is dead, but JJ might make the argument that he's not.
that's what I'm saying. Like
might
what
happen. I
what
don't
I've
know.
seen from the theories is that like he's so powerful that was basically just a trick move, more or less. Like he's more or less transcendent almost, and so he said, hey, fuck this body, and basically
Probably.
took off, and he's maybe it's kind of like the if anybody remembers Stargate SG-1 Anubis, where he can just like take over people's bodies and stuff.
Yeah, I remember that. That's...
And that it actually like maybe that's why Snoke looked so fucked up, because the effects that he has like just damages the host's body so badly. I don't know.
Probably. And then there was another thing that they didn't tie up, that they just gave away. I'm less bothered about it, but at the same time, I'm just like, okay, you built up this massive mystery.
Yeah.
Rey's parents. And I get it. Yeah, in 8, like it makes sense that her parents are like not special, are nothing special. Like that actually makes it a little more poetic. But at the same time, they build it up and they just give it away in the eighth film instead of her actually tracking her parents down and finding out that she comes from very, very humble origins.
Yeah.
And that I think that would have been a lot more poetic and a lot better if they would have waited for the last film to do that. But I don't know. But I just wish that. But hey, this is all just mental masturbation because, hey, the eighth film's out there, and there is a petition online for people saying actually, let's see, they actually were raising a lot of money for it. Let's see how much they're up to. Remake
Star Wars.
episode 8. There you are. So, yeah, redo Star Wars episode 8, change.org. How much money have these guys raised? Let's see. Okay, actually, they were ordered to shut it down, but before they did, they had 5,129 supporters who had altogether proposed up to $35 million in just donations.
Yeah, that ain't gonna work for a Star Wars movie. They're gonna need at least 200 million.
Yeah,
Hey,
for sure.
well, hey, you know what they need to do? Contact that Star Wars theory guy and
Have to make it.
yeah, just be like, hey, $150,000. Here's $35 million. You're good at what you do.
Do your thing.
Yeah, do what you do.
Yeah, as long as they don't make for episode 9, they don't make either, fucking what's his name? Goddamn.
Ryan Johnson.
No. Well, absolutely not. Not on him. But why can't I fucking remember this problem? Because none of them are fucking memorable. The dude, Kylo Ren. Goddamn.
Oh,
Kylo
Adam
Ren.
Driver.
Yeah, as long as they don't make Kylo Ren or Hux the main villain, because Hux is just a fucking comical villain.
Well, he's a
basically at this
toolbox.
point.
That's
He's
all
a
he
tool-
is. He's a tool.
And Kylo Ren's just inconsistent as a
So
character at this point.
inconsistent.
Yeah, and I don't know.
He's
where
a
they're
big
gonna go.
emotional mess.
I think he's
basically.
gonna end up like turning back.
I don't know. He may be killed just because. Hey, screw the Skywalker bloodline. Am I right?
It's starting to seem like that.
Well, honestly, there's just there's problems I have with the new Star Wars movies, and if the Star Wars movies ever do become public domain, I will gladly just be like, hey, you know what? Everyone who wants to remake the Star Wars movies, I'll probably be like an 80-year-old man by the time they're officially free of and in public domain. I'll probably just be like, actually, when do the
That's never gonna. Disney's gonna just buy it out for 1,000 years.
ads? But
Most
they can
likely.
they can buy out the stuff that they've made. However, the idea itself, and saying that it is something else, Star Wars. Let's see.
I didn't have a problem with Force Awakens. The only thing I didn't like about it was just basically just a reflection of A New Hope, more or less.
It was very similar. Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
basically back, just a mirror version of it. And, it was a good movie. It's just I knew, you basically go in knowing
You could
exactly what's
almost
going to happen.
predict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. There it is. Star Wars. Let's see. When is it free of copyright? It will be free of copyright in.
20,
I'll be dead.
2060,
2072.
2072.
Oh wow.
Wow! Fist me with a freaking
I'm not gonna be dead. I'm gonna live
gauntlet.
forever. Nothing can take me down.
Hey, cloning exists now, so
Yeah.
It does exist. It's
Genetic
just-
engineering.
Well, unless we have something that cures like DNA degeneration,
yeah.
then
Well, like anti-aging type stuff is being researched, which I imagine is going to pose a problem as far as population. But fortunately, we're getting better at the whole not having babies left and right thing.
well,
so.
birth control and all that. Yeah, that's a whole.
Well,
other-
it's kind of cool, is because I had always feared that, okay, just based on our exponential population growth, we're just going to breed ourselves out of existence. But it seems over like the last 10, 15 years, we've started to actually plateau. And
well, that they're saying that human beings will eventually, based upon like how birth control is nowadays and population control is proceeding, especially because in China it used to be you couldn't have.
There's a one child policy.
Yeah, and if it was a female, if turns out prenatal test turns out it was female, they killed him pretty much.
They did away with that mainly because of the issues as far as the economic issues they're going to face here, where they have a lot of elderly, basically senior citizens and stuff that are retired,
Yeah.
and not a whole lot of young people to support them financially. So
Well, yeah, and
they kind of
well, and that's one thing about population control that's always kind of scared me, is that here in the States there is no population control thing.
No.
We have birth control, legalized abortion, and all that, which those are, but still there are children who are born into very bad circumstances and very bad, very, like, I hate to say this, but I have family members who are terrible parents, and their kids are unfortunate victims of their terrible parenting. And as much as I wish I could be a father to them and help out, I can't, because I have a life of my own, and I want to have kids someday. I do. I would at least like to have a child, or have a child, or maybe two. But but right now I'm just it's just married to my career. Effectively is where I'm at right now.
I'm not really looking for anybody until we're perfectly successful here and stuff, and I'm financially stable with it. So.
Well, yeah, but it still comes down to the fact that we have this unbelievable tool at our disposal to create another human, like human beings. We do. It's just it's a miraculous thing. It's like, holy crap, you can 3D print a human. And I know if Ben were here, he'd probably say, "Oh yeah, it takes 9 months to do it. You're gonna have to work on that technology." It's like, not really, because 9 months, it's a lot of gestation, a lot of growth, and a lot. It's like you can't get it perfect. You can't get it perfect the first time like that.
I mean, but ultimately, I think what's going to happen is like everything else, it's genetic engineering and cloning and stuff. And once as the technology becomes more and more available, it's going to get highly regulated and stuff.
Yeah.
Even just looking past the ethical issues, there's just I mean, you gotta have it in a kind of an orderly system to prevent things from going really fucked up, and having 20 different types of human beings. Our species becomes just fucking way. It'll be like a fucking fantasy now. We'll start having elves and dwarves and stuff. And,
yeah, and we'll have what are they called? We'll have gnomes. We'll have friggin'
hobbits.
We already have one. His name is Peter Dinklage. I'm sorry, Peter Dinklage, if you ever see this, I love you. But for me, I see that stuff coming along, and I'm worried that things may get out of control. But at the same time, they talk about getting rid of pre-existing conditions with kids and everything, like people's getting rid of the ability for a child to be born with bone cancer or something like that. See, that's something that I would be 100% for.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Make sure that all of the genetic defects, the less genetic defects we have, the less likely we'll have a child that.
Oh yeah, let's be clear. I'm all for team genetic engineering and stuff. Just because as far as getting past a lot of the problems, our limitations biologically and stuff, because we're going to get to a point where we're much better at artificial evolution than we are at just waiting for natural evolution to take course. As we expand into space and stuff, we're gonna need to have that.
It's as CGP Grey said about mechanical muscles. Mechanical muscles can go longer, last longer, and can evolve at a much quicker rate that human biology cannot.
I think we are at the brink of transhumanism.
That's something I'm a little afraid of too.
As far as the blurring between kind of human and AI and stuff,
That's something that does scare me because it's just it's not because I've seen movies like Transcendence and Lucy, Transcendence with Johnny Depp and Lucy, which so our future is we turn into this black oil monster like Venom. And
it's definitely a Brave New World kind of territory where you don't know exactly. It's kind of the fear of the unknown sort of thing. But
fear of the unknown. Well, there's fear of the unknown, and then there's actually a book that came out a while back called Superintelligence. I forget the name of the author, but it actually left a huge question mark in my head about the potentials of transhumanism and artificial intelligence, because I was originally like fully on board with just like, oh yeah, just like
Let's do it.
like yeah, artificial intelligence, let's give them full control over all this stuff. And then I pulled back the reins a little bit. It's just like, hey, what if this artificial intelligence gets the idea in its mind that humans are a blight upon its process, and the only way to truly effectively, not quite a HAL 9000 scenario,
Yeah.
but more like a Skynet scenario.
But and that's the thing, is it's one of the things that I want to address with my story. I don't like I can't really stand the Terminator effect of like, oh, we develop AI, they naturally have to fucking revolt against us. For one, like in my story, everybody kind of has. I don't want to make it sound like they're slaves or anything, but like they kind of have artificial intelligences that are mapped off their brain when they're really, really young, before like memories form and everything. And that synthetic intelligence gradually develops to be its own individual, and more or less, they kind of become a companion with that person throughout their lives, or it can kind of go different ways. But again, I don't want to make it sound like they're slaves or anything. It's kind of consensual type thing, but I like the idea of the AIs being decentralized, where they're not a part of a hive mind, where if one AI goes rogue, decides to do
It's
that,
not connected to
all. The other AIs can fight against it, similar to how and they're because we would create laws and stuff for them to more or less follow. Same thing with human civilization. Even if one person, breaks a law, well, it doesn't mean that they're going to be able to convince everybody else in the human population to break the law. It's not how it works. So you're going to have, different, and you can certainly have safe measures. Obviously, if you have an AI or an SI that is emotionally and socially aware, self-aware and stuff, you could have other AI that are developed that are like narrow focused AI that are like developed specifically
for specific.
Like an AI gets out of control, its specific job is to stop that AI, but it doesn't really have any self-awareness. It can't be convinced to flip sides or something like that. I don't know. But I'm sure, there's a lot of different routes I want to take with artificial intelligence to the story, and blurring the lines between humanity and AI and stuff. And so
the art of storytelling.
It's a lot of craziness going up in here.
Well, the future is unknown in terms of, like, we have these potential possibilities. In 15 years, everyone's going to be driving electric cars, and in 30 years, we're all going to be able to take trips to the moon. And hey, that'd be exciting.
Super exciting.
Okay, but until we reach the paradigm shift where it goes from fantasy to reality, when everything becomes when it's readily happening, and you are literally sitting on the spaceship to the moon, like whenever Elon Musk gets SpaceX in order and is just like, hey, want to go on a round trip to the moon?
Decides to send something useful into space instead of a roadster.
Hey, he wanted to do it just to prove a point.
Yeah.
Because there were all these people out there saying, you aren't going to do it. You aren't going to do it. It's impossible. Why would you do? And then all of a sudden, he's just like people up there in his roadster. He's just like,
I mean, he definitely probably spent like $50 million in fuel and like the capsule casing to get it up there.
The thing is, he did not leave any space garbage, because everything came right back into its capsule, went back into the rocket, and it made its way back down safe and sound.
Wait, the car's not still up there?
I think. Well, actually, maybe it is.
I'm pretty sure the car's still up there.
I thought he brought the car back, and he actually showed it at a show.
Oh, maybe that'd be kind of fucking cool too. That's what I love though. Elon Musk is so fucking cool as far as just
he's
creating
a real life
rocket.
Tony Stark. He's like a literal real life Tony Stark.
He's
and that's
basically
awesome.
the closest we're gonna get.
Yeah, and it's that lateral thinking and that madness that makes him so entertaining to watch. Like his appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience was hilarious.
Oh my gosh!
As long as he doesn't go Howard Hughes and start pissing in jars and stuff.
And locking himself in a film room, watching cuts of his old films and all. Which he's not a filmmaker. He doesn't have that tortured artist mentality. Instead, he's just got that mad genius. I'm worried one day he's just going to be like Dr. Frankenstein, and he's going to try and bring back Nikola Tesla. He's going to try and like implant Tesla's brain into some monstrosity, and then Tesla will come back, and Tesla's first words will be genetic modification. Oh,
Do
I'm
it.
sorry. No, instead, to be, it's like eugenics. Let's start now.
Oh my God.
Well, he was a massive eugenicist. Like that's what Nikola Tesla was, a eugenicist, and that's actually one of the downsides of his personality.
I'll be honest. I did name this particular character. Her last name is Tesla.
No. As long as you are taking inspiration by what is good.
Yeah,
from
I
the
was
character.
basing it off his electrical discoveries and stuff.
Well, of course. Well, that's good, and his contributions in that are insurmountable. I mean, you could look at like Thomas Edison, but Edison just patented a lot of stuff. Like a lot of the inventions actually came from people
They already existed.
Yeah, they already existed, and they
Yeah.
invented versions of it, and he patented it. That's why, once again, the U.S. trademark and copyright system, to me, in some regards, is bullshit. Because you have all these amazing things that are readily available and people can produce, but no, this person's got a trademark on it, and they can trademark it for as long as the hell they want to.
We need. Yeah, I want 80% of your profits. Give me.
Yeah, hand it here. Yeah, but that's a whole thing, and also personally to me, there's so many crazy things out there that blow me away. It's just like people test out this flashlight that can run on water. Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah, it's a flashlight that you literally pop the cap off the back of it, pour in a little bit of water, shake it up, and then it'll actually supply light for you. It's weird. And actually, that's one thing I want to do. I want to do a test and see if that stuff actually works. Like, as seen on TV, like there's these videos out there of people like testing out egg product stuff. Like they would they go and it's like, this says here it could give you a perfectly boiled egg,
Dude,
without the hassle of you having to remove the shell. And I'm like, okay. And the person tries it, and the thing looks like it's just got bumps and like little divots in it and everything, and it looks terrible.
Hey, I just want to know when we're getting our roll up TVs, because they've been talking about that for 5 years.
That's
now.
actually a real thing now.
Oh, I know. They've been
at
talking about it for like
CES.
5 years.
They had it at CES, and it was beautiful to watch it, because it's this flat screen OLED TV that's just rolls up in this base of a TV stand, and when you want to come up, it comes all the way up. Or if you want to just stay low, it stays low, and it displays like the time.
Well, I mean,
Wow.
you could
temperature,
roll it out onto a table or something. That'd be fucking
and then
cool, like sci-fi.
the wallpaper,
Yeah.
the full wallpaper TVs. Yeah, they don't have the same amount of quality as the ones in the stand, but they're still cool. They're still like, I can't wait till we get there. I can't wait till it's just like, oh, new TV, let's see it. Roll it out on the floor.
Yeah.
It's like awesome.
That's the thing. Like, obviously we're still kind of in the infancy of robotics, but like the movie I, Robot being in 2035, it actually doesn't seem super unrealistic. As far as like the automation of vehicles and stuff, I mean, I don't think we're gonna have like bouncy ball wheels, but the fucking like the vehicles all driving themselves, obviously that's gonna be, by 2035 we should have that pretty well implemented.
Oh yeah, like autos. Like whenever we get autos fully, like self-driving cars, with the option of you doing it, but it still leaves the training wheels on.
Yeah.
Like you could still have control of the car and move freely.
Yeah,
if you want to.
I think they'll create a manual system, but I think there'll be laws where, like, if you're getting on like the highway or something,
It
you
has to
have to
be
be an automatic, because what they'll do is they'll have it where the highways can then be like 150 or 200 mile an hour.
Well, yeah, and
speed or something.
And you look at
cool.
and people, there's people out there who said, well, what about safety? I mean, there's this one report of a Tesla car whose navigation went out. It's like, yeah, you
in
know
2
how many
years.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, and you know how many people have died from regular car accidents in those 2
Fucking
years
drunk
versus
driving.
that one person who had a bad nav system?
Just factor in the people who drink and drive, right?
Yeah.
Fucking how many people's lives would you save if you just put that drunk person in an automated vehicle that could just drive them home?
Takes them home. They get out. Now they could very well get out of the car and then try and go up the stairs, fall off backwards, and break their neck. Hey, they didn't die in a car accident. Take someone with them.
Exactly.
Instead, they died in the safety and sanctity of their own home from their own stupidity. Congratulations, you win the Darwin Award.
Union said, I would ban space travel until we fix Earth. If you can't look after your own planet, no going to others. Yeah, the thing is, I always like that about the whole like terraforming Mars and everything. And I think we'll eventually be capable there. But us talking about like terraforming Mars and Venus and stuff like that, it would be so infinitesimally easier to take care, like to fix our own planet environmentally before we actually make others.
Number one,
habitable.
we need to just do it. We need to do a Dyson sphere around our sun.
Oh yeah,
Like get
That's
the
inevitable.
get the rotating Dyson sphere, like the orbiting Dyson spheres. I'd love that.
like you're talking about like the swarm type, where it's
Yeah,
all
the swarm,
satellites and stuff?
sort of a swarm type. However, not enough to take away from the amount of light we get here on Earth. Because
I mean, it'd be cool if we could do like if you read the book Halo Glass Lens or Onyx, one of them, where it's like basically like a forerunner structure that's the size of a solar system. It's
oh
just a
yeah, I've seen
solid
that.
shell.
Yeah, it's the,
That would be
the
cool,
shield
but
planet, like
I don't know
effectively
how
like a
many.
shield planet.
I don't know how many star systems worth of material that would take to build.
Well, unless the design of it was perfectly sound and it was able to resist the gravitational pull, it would fall apart
Oh yeah,
and would collapse.
there's definitely a
into the
lot
sun.
of magic going into that.
Well, of course, but Union Jack the Ripper says he did call a bunch of those British divers pedophiles after he saved those kids. Yeah, and he
the British.
he's talking about Elon Musk.
No, the
well-
British divers though were like saying, "Oh, he's just doing this for it's a marketing gimmick and stuff like that."
Well,
Like,
and yeah,
And
it
it's
was,
not
it was
right to
wrong
miss,
of
like,
them. It was
all
wrong of
pedophiles,
them
but-
to say Elon was doing it just for the publicity. Whereas, yeah, I know Elon.
Yeah.
Elon's comedy wasn't like Elon. Okay, he's a terrible comedian. He has terrible comedic timing. Okay,
Yeah.
John Cleese, he is not. Okay, I'm willing to recant to that. But at the same time, he was willing to send over and do stuff and try and help.
yeah, and they
and-
just I'm not gonna necessarily defend Elon for what he said. There,
Oh no,
but,
I'm not either.
Yeah, just
he's an
because
asshole for
just
what he said.
because a rich dude is providing stuff doesn't mean he's trying to sell you.
No, it's not like he's trying to
Sometimes.
just gain publicity. What else? Does he really have to do that to gain publicity? He's Elon Musk. He'll sit this guy released a flamethrower just because someone said you can't do it. It's like, and he's like, technically, it's not a
I was all
flamethrower.
that-
We recommend you do not put the fluid in like this or shoot it out of the gun like this.
But you can't.
But you can't exactly. And he named the company the Boring Company.
Mhm.
Who does that? Elon
That's so
friggin'
funny.
Musk.
I don't know
Of course.
have you seen the video? Have you seen it? The
No, I've
video?
never seen it.
They did they built a test tunnel in LA 2 miles long or whatever.
What?
It's like a super narrow tunnel, but it's perfectly sized for a car, and it basically loads onto a cart and it's like a mini subway tunnel type thing for your
Wow.
car.
Yeah,
That's
he's-
crazy.
it's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's
it looks
beautiful watching it
cool as
work.
shit. And so he's looking at trying to build that for all of LA or something, to basically
Reduce
alleviate
traffic
the-
jams.
Okay.
Anyone who has a Tesla car can just go in there. You'll go into an elevator system. It'll lower you down into this tunnel, put you on the tracks, and then it will speed your car up to 150, 200 miles an hour, and you'll be underground. And they're earthquake proof too. He's actually looked at how the Japanese have done subway systems to prevent earthquakes from getting them.
Mhm.
And that's what he's effectively using. He's using the same
Wow.
technique that the Japanese developed.
Now, I will say I do see there being issues of congestion at those entry points and stuff where cars have to go up and down and everything. Unless he's building 20 elevators per station or whatever. How
That's
do you?
a lot of cars to be moving.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly. You got
well,
all these cars.
What
that
I
are
would
spinning
do,
around
is I would have a Ferris wheel system effectively.
I'm
I would-
assuming that's what they're looking
Well,
at.
the,
but-
yeah, the turbine, the rotating Ferris system. Have a car, it pulls the car in, and then the car goes down. Next car goes in, goes down. Next car, and just like that.
But
And
it-
it would be fed in.
Yeah, but you'd have to either do it really fast, get the vehicle on there really fast, or you'd have to keep stopping the thing every
Well-
time the vehicle got
Well,
on.
not necessarily if you have a starting rail.
Yeah.
If you have a starting rail where the car can get up to speed and then get on the main rail.
Mhm.
That's what I think he's wanting to do.
Hmm.
Because according to those electric engines can get to 100 very fast. Have you seen there's actually Grand Tour, which is the effectively the new Top Gear ever since the original host got fired. Grand Tour actually did a three-way race. It was an old school V12 Lamborghini versus a hybrid McLaren, and a completely electric Rimac concept car. And the Rimac beat them soundly and got up to, I think it was 230 miles an hour
Wow.
I think it was half a mile, which is insane to think about. You give an electric car 100 yards, it can get up to 60 miles an hour easy.
Dude, I can't wait till everything's electric. It's gonna be so nice. Everything's just gonna be quiet.
Well,
There won't be any
yeah.
noise on the roads
Well,
anymore.
I'd like that because don't get me wrong, I love hearing to me, I love the sound of a V8
Yeah,
engine.
oh yeah. No,
I
I
love
get
that sound, the
Yeah,
classic
so,
sound. But at the same time, whenever you're driving somewhere and you can just hit the autopilot and then just
take a nap.
take a nap, take like a 2-hour nap on the way down to where you're
Like
going.
you're going down to Atlanta or something.
Yeah,
from there.
yeah, and that's it. That's all you got to do. And then you hop in a charging station, you charge up there, and then you
get
go
something to eat.
you go around, grab something to eat. You're gone for 30, 45 minutes. You come back, your car is at 60% charged. You go the rest of the way, and then you get to where your destination is. You plug the car up and let it charge up 100%, and you're good. I mean, I've had people tell me the doubts of electric cars, and that's fine. But overall, I still see the benefit in them, and I still see the practicality. I mean, you've been in one.
Yeah.
You know how practical and how amazing they are. And I've been around one. I've been around it was a Model S, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely just gorgeous. It was sleek, perfectly designed. Not a single part of it was wasted.
Yep.
And yeah.
I just think, especially these oil companies like Shell and BP and stuff, they would see how times are changing and they would just start investing in solar and wind energy and stuff because they know. I mean, it's clear that electric vehicles are gonna be the future. There's no questioning.
Well,
and oil is just gonna get harder and harder to find.
Well, and people in the Middle East are freaking out about that, especially the sheiks who have all these oil fields and everything. They're freaking the hell out.
Well, and that's the thing. Like places like Dubai have diversified their economy, where only 2% of their economy relies on oil. They're smart about it.
Well, yeah, and that's good.
Saudi Arabia probably not so good.
Saudi Arabia, I think 70% of their economy is based off of oil.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just
and that's not gonna,
Venezuela. Yeah. Hell, Venezuela was 100% based off of oil, and look at what's happened there.
Yep. Yeah, I was just watching a thing. I guess the
people
Trump
breaking
administration is basically stood behind.
People were
opposition.
breaking into zoos to kill the animals and slaughter them just so they could eat them.
Oh my gosh.
People were eating trash.
It's not great there.
People were eating trash. There's a guy who actually invested in Bitcoin, and he is officially, I think, in terms of personal wealth, he's like the third richest person in the country, just based upon his Bitcoin, and it's amazing. I know someone who invested in Bitcoin, my friend Micah, and for some reason, whenever Bitcoin topped out, he was able to retire from his job. I wonder why.
The only thing,
go ahead.
Tired of hearing that. I'm not a fan of communism necessarily. I like the idea of a social capitalism type system, like middle ground. But I'm tired of the argument of, well, you like socialism? Would you think Venezuela is great because they're socialist? Because
they are.
Yes, but every one of these, the USSR and China stuff, they're not, or like Vietnam, they're not. They're basically a communist front with a fascist, dictatorship behind the scenes that's basically corrupt and taking all the money. That's not.
Yeah.
It's not actually working the way it's supposed to work. But
yeah,
whatever.
For me, I think how it's supposed to work here in the States is that the tax money is actually supposed to be used effectively for the federal government to better our lives. However, I'm not seeing a lot of betterment. Instead, I'm seeing excuses and Band-Aids over broken legs. That's effectively what I'm seeing.
Well, we have a lot of different systems that are confusing to use, and honestly, I think eventually, especially as automation continues, we just need to kind of drop them all and transition over to more of a UBI type system.
Yeah.
But because that's another inevitable thing. I mean, eventually, most jobs are just going to be. There's no need to have humans behind them, and so you're going to have to give people money somehow to keep them from revolting. So,
yeah, and that's
That's me. I'm
No.
optimistic for the future. I don't think that.
Well, no.
automation thing
I'm
is-
optimistic as well. Although I'm skeptical because I'm a student of history,
Hmm.
and based upon history and human behavior, unless there's something that truly alters human behavior, like someone who is there to stand up and effectively make the world a better place, then I see us falling into the pitfalls of the previous generations, which I'm hoping that that's not the case.
Yeah, the only thing is the world has changed so drastically in the last few decades with internet and everything. The
Well, yeah,
the
we're informed.
democratization and
We're more informed
yeah,
now.
and I think it's a lot harder for people to be controlled to such an easy degree as it was in the past, where your only method of news was through a few very specific news outlets that could be more or less bought and controlled.
You had a town crier, like a
Exactly.
newspaper outlet, which they run stories of like propaganda every now and again, and then you had books which told like falsehoods, like, "Hey, you want to hear the story about Franklin Pierce, the president who became president by just a book alone?"
Mhm.
Yeah, no, really,
And ultimately, I mean, like you have like China who censors the hell out of
everything.
everything. But I think even that is going to fall apart, and
Well,
I mean,
given how much China owes in debt and the fact that they aren't paying their workers fair wages, and there's so many people in China who are disenfranchised. That's just like all these Muslims who, I think it's like around 5 million Muslims who have been forced out of their homes because they don't want to throw away their religion.
Mhm.
And that's ugly.
Well, China is also, they're throwing a lot of money at like countries in Africa and South American stuff, while their country is like the cities on the right on the coast are great. They're nice and pretty and stuff to some degree. I mean the touristy areas, but you get outside of that, there's not an infrastructure that is anything close to a first world nation.
Yeah.
It is yeah, it's not great.
It's
Wow.
disgusting. All right. Well,
Anyways.
we've been going a full hour and a half.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
ladies and
All right.
gentlemen, we want to thank you all for tuning into this episode of Renegades Ramble. This was episode 10, Truth and Perception. So, hey,
Which we talked about about 5% of.
yeah,
Kinda. We're kind of
yeah, we were a little back and forth. Hey, off topic is our topic. That's how we go.
That's how it works.
So
It's the Renegade Ramble.
yes, we ramble. That's what we do. So, I want to thank you all for tuning in, and I also want to thank Roan and Chelsea for joining me on this
absolutely.
episode.
You are welcome.
Yeah, and
Always a pleasure.
well, here's to the future, and we hope that you all will join us in the next one. So, signing off, I'm Nate,
I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Roan.
and we'll see you then, everybody. Peace
Bye.
out.
Love you. Are we good?
Are we off? Nick,
Nick. Is he in there? Did he
Oh.
go to the bathroom?
No, I mean I see his head.
Are we still live?
I'm pretty sure I said.
sleep.
God damn it. All right, guys. Well, apparently our
So it's still
operator has
running?
fallen asleep. Yeah,
Oh
we're
my
still
gosh.
live. That's great. That is awesome.
He really is. He's out. He's out.
Yeah.